And I'm the Executive Vice President of Engineering, and this is the September 22nd, 2020 Engineering Key Review. So we're going to be covering 4 of the 6 engineering departments here: development, quality, security, and UX. Support and infrastructure have their own key reviews, so we'll try to direct comments to those meetings when appropriate. I know we had the infrastructure key review this morning, and there's one actually that was directed to this meeting about development. And on that note, I believe Christopher has a conflict about halfway through and has to leave early. So if we could put questions for Christopher in development up as high as possible in the agenda, we could get to those first. So maybe Christopher, do you want to elevate number 6 in the agenda up to number 4?
Sure thing, Eric. Are we on item 4, or are we prior to that point? Can you hear me, Eric?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you want to just vocalize it?
Yeah, sure. I'm sorry. I didn't know if we had already gotten through. Okay, everything else was FYI. Sorry about that. So there was a request that we have the largest contentful paint marked as a KPI. Basically at the 75th percentile. Right now, what we've done in the short term for the first iteration is we're already getting this in Grafana. So we've added it to the handbook under a performance indicator. It actually will point to a page with 5 charts of the different pieces that we're looking at improving on. Right now it shows the median. We'll need to change that to the 75th percentile. So our plans are to pipe it into the data lake, and then once it's there, get to the 75th percentile, and then break it out into the 5 PIs, of which one we'll need to select one to be the KPI for that.
Cool. Mac, you've got number 5.
Sure, thank you. So as a follow-up from the last meeting on me being the single interface for engineering metrics and how we remodel how we do a data project, here's the FYI on the current process. Special thanks to Kyle, Lily, Kat, and the data team. So 5 new PIs on personnel staff, the gearing ratio for quality and UX, 6 new PIs for overall community contributions. So first of them being the key, which is the volume of community MRs. And then we clean up roughly 51 PIs to have clear directional indicators. I believe this was a call out from Paul last meeting. So we are aligning on above or at, below at, and making it standardized. And in point 4, we also moving on centralized handbook first engineering indicators that completes the overall view of development, quality, and UX. And these are drilled down into every sub-departments in engineering and metrics from the counterparts of UX and quality. And Craig, this is where you'll be passionate about on the bugs, because now you see the drill down of bugs all the way down. And if you click on the metric, we also factor in security and infrastructure as well going forward as the next iteration. So full transparency, open up for everybody to see. And we have a few more in progress as well in point B, 1, 2, 3. Lily is working hard on auditing all our KPIs to make sure it's standardized. We want to measure MR ARR. We are now looking at how to track this as a backhouse ledger, because we need to know what accounts are submitting MRs, and we don't have that knowledge yet. We're working with a community relationship team to build this out, and then we'll continue to build on the centralized handbook first metrics overall. So I'll pause there for questions from the group.
Yeah, it's amazing progress, Mac. I think we made you our data czar 2 or 3 weeks ago, and this is a huge increase and a huge volume of work that was delivered, and a bunch of stuff that's exciting in progress. I would say the one I would want to call out here is 5A Roman numeral I4, so the gearing ratio for our SDETs. Do you want to talk about that versus target?
Sure. So number 4, we are very, our target is at 42, and I believe we only have 15 or 16 SDETs in general. So we need help in this regard and increasing the coverage in the SDET space. And my gut check is that it also correlates with the test coverage and the bugs as well. So if we help improve testing, those numbers should improve as well.
Yeah, so as headcount requests become a thing, we're at 38% of our target here, and this is a really important area because this makes our software robust for enterprise customers. I think in terms of how we got here, we did deliberately limit this one because when we first set the gearing ratio, Mac's team was at, I forget, 2 years ago, maybe 15 people or something like that. It wasn't possible to grow at 400% in a year to hit our gearing ratio. So we said, let's limit getting to our ideal gearing ratio just based on how fast any department can reasonably grow in terms of adding new people and hiring them and onboarding them. But it means when we limited hiring in the earlier part of this calendar year, we're at 38% of our gearing ratio, and that means to the extent we're not getting back there, we're going to start feeling the pains of that. So we should probably look at the backfills that we're doing from kind of organic attrition, rather than just backfilling them by default. Maybe we should take a look at utilizing some of those to increase this gearing ratio in instead and actually be transferring them from one department to another. Because this is like the one gearing ratio for headcount that we're way below. So I think we have to look into fixing that creatively. So with that, should we go to 6, Christy?
Yeah, these are just a couple of FYIs. I wanted to let everyone know that we've added a new regular PI for actionable insights to help us track UX research findings, and also so we can see how well we're doing at actually addressing those findings and hopefully burning them down over time as it makes sense. And then I moved proactive UX work, which is the metric we use to track the amount of user research we're doing, to attention, just because I'm keeping an eye on it. Last quarter is a little lower than I expected. This quarter, it looks like it also might be lower than expected, although I'm not sure yet. Have a hypothesis that our lack of unmoderated research capabilities is what's causing the amount of research to go down. So the current way that we have to do research is labor intensive. It's face-to-face interviews. There are a lot of simpler studies that we could use unmoderated research on that would make things go faster and just be less effort for everyone. So we're exploring a way to address that.
Cool, thanks. So Craig, number 7.
Yeah, this is the question that I had in the infrastructure meeting that we brought over to this meeting. So on the infrastructure page, handbook showed that GitLab.com site performance was a needs attention in the handbook. And then there was a comment about infrastructure team not, they're working on other things, which I think are the right things. But I just wanted to understand how we're looking at this, how we're thinking about this, and what would that position change either from an infrastructure perspective. And then I guess on the flip side, since we're in the Eng meeting, what efforts and work is being done by the dev teams?
Yeah, so great question. And I would say performance is a complicated topic. So there are definitely aspects of infrastructure performance, back-end performance, and front-end performance, all of which are separate. And I did, this was a question, I think, at the beginning of last quarter, and I took an action item, which I haven't been able to prioritize to differentiate between those in the handbook so it's clear to people. And I didn't get to that one, but now that you're raising again, it tells me if we probably need this handbook page, and I probably need to delegate it to someone to write it for me because I'm holding it up. And so the quick and easy answer though is the reason development front end in particular is working on it is because the signals we got related to performance coming from your usability surveys tell us these were front end issues, right? And so what infrastructure can do is take an 8-core machine and turn it into a 36-core machine. That doesn't necessarily yield a perceptible change in performance from the user perspective, because if you're delivering that same 50 kilobyte JavaScript payload, it might be the way that JavaScript is written that's leading to slowness or not. So the things we detected, we determined were front end specific issues. But there doesn't mean that there aren't issues that would be on the backend team, would be in the infrastructure, or all three at a given time frame. So I'll figure out how to delegate and deliver on that kind of performance landscape content, and then we'll try to make it clear going forward when different performance initiatives land in one of those 3 main buckets.
Yeah, Eric, that'd be helpful, because if I'm on the infrastructure page, if really they pulled all the levers and there's not much to do, it should just be good to go, right? And then, but if it's front end, okay, we could load this part of the payload faster than this part, and that's really optimizations we have to make, then it should be a front end needs attention, right? So that would be very helpful. Yeah, I agree. Cool. All right. Looks like Jonathan saw my number 0.8, so I'll just move on to number 9. So just a heads up, in the product key meeting, there was some discussion about trust and safety metrics and how it influences our KPIs and metrics. So I wanted just to just kind of ask the question here to see how mature are our processes around tagging users that are in abusive accounts, whether it's at the group level or the user level. And then from there, is it stored in our production database? And then from there point on, moved into our data warehouse so that we can do reporting on it. I just wanted to get Jonathan's view of how mature we are here and what kind of next steps need to happen.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Craig. I really appreciate you bringing this up. This is obviously a very important topic to us all. What I can tell you is that the trust and safety team has done a lot of work around like behavioral analytics. And if you remember Melissa, when she was here, she did a lot with machine learning and working with a lot of like scripting and creating like automated detection scripts to identify these accounts. So within our platform itself, we don't have any technology or any feature that flags abusive accounts, right? But what we do is we have scripts that we've built. We have 2 programs. One's called Scrubber, one's called Bouncer. So Scrubber is what detects the behavior, right? So then it checks it against 963 different rules. So there's 963 rules that identify. Wow. One more time.
Oh, I just said, wow, that's a lot of rules.
Oh, yes.
I assume they're made by hand. So that's a lot of work.
Took a lot of time. This is over the course of multiple years. And so 963 rules. And then at the end, and it runs every 10 seconds in GCP. And so then every 10 seconds, hopefully we identify, 100 accounts or 5 accounts or whatever that's been spun up in the meantime for crypto mining or, spinning up instances for other fraudulent purposes, right? So identifies these accounts, and then we run the script called Bouncer, and Bouncer then goes and kicks off those accounts or disables those accounts. So what I can tell you, Craig, is in the platform or in our databases, we don't have anything flagged and we don't have the features to flag it. That said, we can certainly get you the metrics from Scrubber and Bouncer, right? So we have all that data available to you. And we can just shoot it over your way. I'm sure there's a better way to create some sort of metrics or automation around this. This trust and safety team is currently working on that now. They're working on putting this into Sisense in a dollar figure, right? Like, hey, this month it cost us $47,000 in fraud. Now I was calling it fraud. You noted in number 7 or number 8 to call it abuse. That's totally fine. I'm not stuck on names. Does that help? You're muted, by the way.
Sorry, I went back on mute to listen to your amazing response. Yeah, I think the reason is while we do have the tools running to figure it out, I think there is value in our production platform flagging these users, because when we do all of our core data, then we'll have a single source of truth of like which ones to take out and not, versus having to like reverse engineer it in the data warehouse for this use case versus that use case. I think if we can simplify that, and additionally, if you end up getting to a point where you have false positives, where you need to have a team like actually review them and stuff like that, you'll have an ability to do that too. So I would love to see a proposal or a method to do that, because I think that will lead us to more standardization of how we report and understand our business metrics. So it's a suggestion. Take it for what it's worth for the finance guy.
No, very valuable. Thank you for pointing it out. Yeah, I'll get together with Charles and then Jan is over the operations org. I'll get together with them and figure out what it's going to take to build that into the product. Then, from us digesting the data to the database, see what we can put together. Yeah,
that'd be great. And
thank you.
Yeah. And since I come from marketplace companies, I can, if you want, just to pick my brain on what I've seen before, I'm happy to talk about it.
Oh, I'm definitely going to take you up on that.
I've
already got a meeting. I just had a meeting invite 4 seconds ago, so we're good.
Good, I love it. Perfect. Number 10 refers to Mech's great. I can see pride in his bug measurements. I have a question for him on the bug measurement. So this is flagged as a problem, although the trend as I'm reading this chart that I linked here in severity 1 bugs seems to be, charts that when it's about bugs down to the right, which I seem to think is a good thing. Can you give more color on why you labeled it a problem and how you're going to set a target around it and how you're thinking about it?
Yes, happy to do this. This is also why we're moving to handbook first to provide drill down before we be looking at the chart and who are we going to talk to, which team. So we're defining stepping stone for us to move the number down further. I also want to transparently say that we recently switched the levers to track SLO based on severity. So we are still looking at more analysis before we adjust the health up to attention again out of a bunch of precaution, because this is a sensitive metric and we don't want to over celebrate before confirming that's the case. That's all I have for now.
So the fact that let me just share my screen to make sure we're looking at the same thing. This is what I'm looking at, right? Like the fact that this chart looks like it's going this way, right? So you're saying you just want to triple check the data, make sure that we actually are getting better than where we were, 9 months ago, and then you'll move this up or this side of it.
Correct.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for that. That's great. And thanks for sharing this. I think this is a great way to look at the quality of our site specifically and all the stuff that we push out. So I like it a lot.
Thank you.
Good. I think you got next one.
Yeah, so that's 11. Great to see so much measured and the great results overall. Like, this is super impressive. Few small things. We just reviewed that one. Is that due to? Oh no, that's a different one. I have that in 15, but that was what Craig just showed. So switching to 15. Is the severity bug burn down going really well, or is there something else going on there?
I believe that some teams are doing better than others. I believe there's some more automation that needs to be completed to complete the overall view. Kyle, if you want to chime in on the triple checking of the data before we move the health up in the next iteration.
Nothing else really to add, just a little bit of automation, some data analysis to confirm the numbers. That's what's really holding us back from feeling comfortable about adjusting the health.
Okay, I might be misinterpreting this graph because it says problem, but if I look at the graph, like in August, we have much fewer bugs that are severity 1. Or is this graph like a current snapshot, but just graphed by the time that bugs were submitted?
Thanks for the feedback. Sid. We're actually looking at changing this so it's clearer. Currently, it's based on the missed SLO. So if the chart go up, it means there's a S1 bug that's beyond the intended SLO, and that might not be the good way to represent it. What we're looking at
is the x-axis the time the bug was submitted.
Yes, yeah, it's created time. So you would never see bugs the current month. Yeah, it needs adjustment.
That is super unclear. Let's put a giant call out for that on it. Because it actually says historical bug count somewhere. So it's very easy to interpret that, oh, in January 20th, that was the number of bugs that was open at that time.
Yeah,
So
that's a good catch.
Yeah, so we're looking at showing average days to close, similar to how the security vulnerabilities are being presented, Sid. And we want to keep it at the target. So if it's 30 days, then on average, it should be below 30 days.
But if I look at January, I want the score that we had in January. I don't want the bugs that we had that were opened in January.
We'll happily to provide the next iteration and next update, but that's also something that's happening
Cool.
as well.
Thanks. Back to 12. We're seeing more features contributed by the wider community, which is awesome. Is that due to us labeling them more assertively, or did the content actually change of what gets contributed?
I believe that the labeling has been the same. Are you saying because there's an uptick in the current month?
Yeah, there's a big uptick in the percentage.
We will have to circle back with that, but I believe there's more, we discussed the ops section having more activity here. Kyle, go ahead.
Backstage was deprecated around the time you see it uptick. So there was a number of MRs that would be labeled backstage or like developer facing changes that are now labeled feature maintenance. That could be like test updates, things that are more applied to changing existing features, but maybe smaller changes.
That's great. That's glad we got rid of that grab bag of a label. Awesome. Reminded that this is a public stream in 13. There's the issue for the MRAR metric. I wonder why that's confidential.
I would set it as an abundance of caution because we may be discussing topics related to ARR. Happy to open this up more if you want more.
Yeah, let's open it up, and I hope that people don't start naming customers in there.
I think there is a concern, which I noted, that about this KPI being public, let alone the discussion about creating it being public, where people could potentially back out our average revenue per customer from this KPI. And if finance doesn't want that to be a public metric, we should think about how to prevent that from how to prevent that calculation from being possible, because that's a key input to it.
So average revenue per customer, that's pretty, like it's not going to allow you to back that out, like, because it's very atypical for a customer to contribute. It's not super useful. I'm much more worried about measuring the ARR of the individual customer and actually knowing the customer who they are. Yeah, I see a merge request from Siemens come in and I see the metric go up by something.
Oh yeah.
Just a random example. I should say customer example X. So that's I think the much bigger worry.
And hedge funds definitely do stuff like that.
I think it's not super. I think it's just our competitors. For our competitors, it's interesting to know who is their customer of GitLab and how much they are paid. So hedge funds, like assessing how we're doing as a company, I don't think that's the problem. I think the problem is competitive intelligence.
Okay.
So we might have to make the resulting graph private. Totally open to that. And then the way it was phrased, it was like, hey, we'll take the list of customers that contributed and multiply it with ARR. It's merge request times ARR for a reason. Like if a customer submits 5 merge requests, we double count or triple count or 5 quadruple, whatever. We count it 5 times. So that's a very intentional effect. So it's not enough to take a list of the customers and multiply it with just their ARR. More merge requests is better, and we double count the ARR.
And I think we agree with that, Sid. And I think we can help make this feel more natural to people if you make sure the output, this billion or $1 trillion number, should not be labeled dollars. It should be labeled MR dollars, because it's not dollars. It's its own sort of synthetic thing, and we should label it as such.
Yep, it's a new thing of funny money. And then something that doesn't really belong in this meeting, but I can't help but ask because I don't know, I was thinking about it yesterday. Christy, can the docs get some design love? And Note, can we stop making everything in Note? It's just really disheartening to look at our docs with notes and warnings just splashed all around them. They don't look great. And I see like the notes are even infiltrating the release post where people are adding notes and footnotes and all kinds of stuff for stuff that could just be in line. So it seems kind of a company-wide problem, but it's manifesting itself most in the docs. Not sure if you have any ideas.
Yeah. So sorry, I'm laughing just because I agree with you so deeply, and my tech writing leaders and I have talked so much about this. So yes, absolutely. We are working on things now to address some of this. I would also like to hear, though, separately from this meeting, if you're willing to share specific things you have in mind, because what you're focused on may be different than what we're focused on. Can I set up time with you to do that?
Yeah, I'd love to do a 25-minute live stream rant about what's wrong with the design of our docs. And I think we can get rid of all the notes, just like inline them. But that's probably not the right approach. So I love to rant a bit, and let's do that. I think we have the best documentation in the business. It's amazing how extensive it is. It's very well written, but we could make it look a bit more appealing.
Agreed. Thank you for bringing it up.
All right, we're at time. Thanks for the great discussion, everybody. Talk soon. Cheers.